My name is Huiguang. Before I encountered Buddhism, I shuttled between conference rooms and negotiation tables every day. I thought that was what success looked like. Until one day, I was sitting in my office looking at the city outside the window and suddenly realized I hadn't truly smiled in a long time. I had everything others envied, yet felt my heart was empty like a hollowed-out container. That was the darkest moment of my life. It was at that moment that I encountered Buddhism. It didn't give me any magical answers, but it taught me for the first time to look inward. Today, I want to share with you the most precious insights from this journey. If you've ever felt exhausted, if you've ever asked yourself in the dead of night what all this is really for, then please stay, because what comes next might change the way you see life. Have you ever had moments like this? You clearly did nothing wrong, yet always feel the need to explain yourself to others, explaining why you declined that invitation, explaining why you chose to be alone, explaining why you are no longer as warm as before, as if every choice you make needs to be stamped with others' approval to count. I understand this feeling all too well. During my years as an executive, I was explaining every day, explaining performance to my boss, explaining decisions to my subordinates, explaining to my family why I had to work overtime again. Each explanation was like scooping a spoonful of water from my heart. Day after day, I found myself empty, exhausted, yet couldn't quite say why. It was only later that I understood. There is a quiet truth hidden here. The more you ask outwardly whether you are doing the right thing, the less you can hear that inner voice that already knows the answer. The wonderful thing is, the moment you stop begging to be understood, people actually start to truly see you. 2,500 years ago, after the Buddha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, he didn't rush to prove anything to the world. He simply sat quietly, radiating a brilliance that couldn't be ignored. Those who were ready were naturally drawn to him. True power is never shouted. It is lived when you start looking inward, not out of pride, not out of avoidance, but out of clear awareness. Everything begins to change. Your reactions become fewer, your needs become fewer, yet you start to radiate an indescribable steadiness that makes the people around you quiet down without even realizing it. Ask yourself, what if your silence carries more weight than your explanations? What if instead of chasing, you start to simply settle within? We live in an age where expression is treated as a virtue. People rush to speak, afraid that silence will be seen as incompetence on social media. Whoever's voice is loudest wins. But what the Buddha taught us is exactly the opposite. The Dhammapada says, "The wise speak little, the foolish speak much." True power is often hidden in the places where nothing is said. Imagine a lake in the early morning, no wind, no ripples. The sky perfectly reflected on the water's surface. That stillness more convincing than any words. Yet, how many times have we jumped up to argue back over an unpleasant remark, rushed to clarify over a misunderstanding, wasted an entire day's good mood over an argument that wasn't even worth it? I used to be that kind of person in meetings. As soon as someone questioned my proposal, I would immediately jump up to defend myself back home. As soon as my wife said something like, "You are never around lately," I would immediately list a bunch of reasons to prove how busy and important I was. Later I realized I wasn't communicating. I was defending. You don't need to prove anything. Have you ever seen a mountain chasing after clouds? It doesn't explain why it is so tall, doesn't defend why it doesn't move. It just stays there, rooted, steady, letting wind come and rain go. This is what Buddhism calls returning. Not shutting the world outside, but coming back to your own home. In Buddhist tradition, silence is not emptiness, but a living presence. It is not the absence of sound, but not being disturbed by sound. Try it now. Give yourself 2 minutes. Turn off the music, put down your phone, do nothing, not to escape anything, but to meet this world from within. In that space, you'll find silence is not empty. It is the soil where your true self takes root. Modern people misunderstand silence. They think not speaking means weakness, means backing down, means admitting defeat. But those who have truly walked this path know that staying calm requires courage, restraining reactions requires composure, and listening without rushing to respond requires real strength. Ask yourself gently, have you been filling your life with noise just to avoid hearing the voice inside? Could your silence be the very door that leads to healing? The Buddha said, the wise one who dwells in meditation attains ultimate peace and freedom, not by drowning out the sounds of the world, but by deeply listening to life itself. Starting today, let your peace be your answer. Let your life be a quiet revolution. Then you will see the world begins to notice you, and you never once asked for it. Why does it hurt more the tighter we hold on? We cling because we're afraid of change, afraid of loss, afraid of what we might become without the familiar things. But have you noticed, the harder you grip, the emptier your palm becomes. It is like trying to catch water with a clenched fist. The water slips through your fingers, and in the end, all that is left is a tired hand and a tired heart. I've been hustling in the corporate world for over 20 years. I've grabbed onto so many things: position, power, connections, wealth. I thought the more I held on to, the safer I'd be. Until one day, I found myself suffocating under the weight of all these things. Buddhism teaches us, letting go isn't admitting defeat. It is the quietest form of courage. Releasing what once shaped you isn't failure. It is making room for yourself to grow, to heal, to breathe again. Most of the time, wounds aren't caused by what left, but by our refusal to let it go. What you hold on to will cut you. What you release will lift you up. There's a Zen story. Two monks were traveling. They came upon a river. A young woman stood by the riverbank, afraid to cross. The old monk, without a word, carried the woman across the river, put her down, and continued on his way. After walking several miles, the young monk finally couldn't hold back. "Senior brother, aren't we monks supposed to stay away from women? How could you carry her?" the old monk said calmly. "I put her down long ago. Why are you still carrying her?" You see, the real burden isn't that person, that thing. That past it is a thought in your heart that refuses to let go. Now, close your eyes, think of something weighing on your heart. A burden, a memory, an obsession. Then imagine gently placing it into a flowing stream, watching the water carry it away. This is the way of the wise. They don't fight against the river. They trust its direction. What is meant to stay will stay. What is meant to go will go. But the heart will protest. It will say, "What if I need this? What if I am nothing without it?" But this is an illusion. What truly belongs to you never needs you to desperately hold on to it. It stays because it was always a part of you. And those that leave are making room for something more real, more light, more suited to who you are now. Ask yourself softly, what am I holding on to that has actually been asking to be released for a long time? Is it a relationship, an identity, or an old version of myself? Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make isn't holding on tight, but letting go. No anger, no drama, The Dhammapada says, you only lose what you cling to. When you are no longer afraid of losing, you actually stand more firmly, walk more lightly, and live more freely. Others might not understand your calmness. They'll wonder why you are not fighting anymore, not chasing anymore. But that is because you've shifted from grasping to flowing. You choose to look inward, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. This world loves fast replies, fast reactions, fast opinions. Someone throws an emotion at you, and they expect you to catch it immediately and throw it back. But the Buddhist teachings show us another way to live. Calmness isn't weakness. It is power in its purest form. To remain steady in the moment of being provoked. That is not incompetence. That is true mastery. A torch doesn't argue with the wind. It just keeps burning. Your calm isn't the absence of strength, but proof of strength. Imagine a candle in a storm, its flame steady, not because it is fighting the wind, but because it is guarding its own light. You can be that candle too. Choosing not to be disturbed doesn't mean you've disconnected from life. It means you've gained freedom within life. When someone tries to drag you into chaos, you have a choice. You don't need to defend every truth or respond to every passing shadow. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to say nothing at all. Sometimes the wisest action is stillness. We're taught from childhood to prove, to defend, to explain. But the moment you stop reacting, everything changes. People will notice, they'll be confused. Why aren't you talking back? Why are you so quiet in that quietness? They encounter something they can't control. You are no longer being led around by the outside world. You are anchored within yourself. Try this next time you feel pressure rising in your chest. Pause. Take a deep breath. Slowly create a small gap between feeling and reacting. That pause is your wisdom. In that quietness, you'll meet your truest self. Gently ask yourself, who am I when I don't react? Who am I when I no longer need to defend and explain? You are not that noise. You are the awareness that hears the noise. You are not that storm. You are the sky that the storm passes through. When you learn to be the witness rather than the participant, your energy will shift. Your vision will become clear. Buddha said, those whose hearts are free from resentment will find peace. So let your peace become your boundary. Not with walls, not with sharp words, but with a clarity that says, I will not go where my peace cannot go. Practice not reacting, not to win, but to be rooted in your truth. There is a unique kind of exhaustion that comes from feeling like you have to account for every decision, your silence, your changes, the direction you choose, as if the world expects you to give a reason for every breath. But the truth is, you are not here to explain yourself to everyone. A tree doesn't argue with the storm about why it stands still. When the wind comes, it bends a little. When the ground is stable, it stands firm. It grows quietly, never announcing each new leaf. You too can expand without broadcasting every step. Too much energy is wasted on trying to prove you are kind, you are capable, you are smart, you are right. True peace begins when you stop explaining yourself to those who are determined not to understand. I remember during the period of my transformation, many old friends didn't understand me. They said, how did you change? Why aren't you like before? At first I still tried to explain, but later I realized some people don't really want to understand you. They just want you to go back to being the person they were familiar with. After Buddha attained enlightenment, he didn't go door to door to prove his awakening. He just lived his truth with patience and presence, and those who were ready naturally followed. Like the moon, you also have phases of waxing and waning. Some nights you are full and bright, some nights you fade into shadow. Both states are natural, both are sacred. You don't need to explain why you changed, why you chose solitude, why your light no longer accommodates the noise around you. Not everyone will understand your quietness. But this isn't failure, this is freedom. You didn't come here to be understood by everyone. You came here to walk in harmony with truth. Ask yourself softly, who am I trying to convince? And why is my need for validation coming from love or from fear? When your attention shifts from proving my worth to guarding my peace, you become unshakable. Not because you closed your heart, but because you repaired it. Buddha said, a person is not called wise because they speak again and again, but if they are peaceful, loving, and fearless, then they truly deserve to be called wise. Wisdom doesn't defend itself, doesn't seek permission. It simply radiates light, and those destined to feel it will understand even in silence. Why can one harsh word ruin an entire day? Why can one failure shake your spirit? Why can one person's opinion shake your confidence? This is the hidden suffering of living at the mercy of the outside world. When you haven't anchored your heart, the world will pull you in all directions, and you often don't even notice. Buddhism gave the answer long ago: master yourself, or be mastered by the world. Your mind is not your enemy, but if left unchecked, It is like a wild horse, strong and swift yet unpredictable. It doesn't run toward your dreams, but flees from your peace. It will trample your original intentions, scatter your focus, and leave you exhausted. A wild horse can't lead a caravan. It only creates chaos, but once guided with patience and a steady hand, it becomes a quiet force. Likewise, you must learn to hold the reins of your mind. Start by noticing your reactions, not with judgment, but with awareness. Next time a thought rushes in, or an emotion surges, like a wave, pause. Gently ask yourself, who is at the helm in this moment? Is it me or my emotions? Every pause is a victory. Every deliberate choice, instead of automatic reaction, is a step from the trap of passive reaction toward the freedom of self-mastery. Most people live trapped in their own emotions. They say, that is just who I am, or I can't control it. But this is an illusion. Every emotion is a guest. Every thought is a passing cloud. And you are the sky, vast and unmoving, deciding whether to follow it or let it drift by. Buddha said, even if a person overcomes 1,000,000 difficulties in life's challenges, the one who overcomes themselves is the greatest victor. Self-mastery is not rigid control, but compassionate awareness. It is understanding your own patterns, your own triggers, your own peace, and then choosing to act with wisdom rather than impulse. Focusing inward is not about escaping the world, but about meeting it with clarity. You don't need to run from life. You just need to stop letting life rule you. When you do this, something changes. Your steps become slower but steadier. Your voice becomes softer but carries more weight. You start choosing peace over chaos. People will notice, not because you ask them to, but because your presence itself has become different. Many of us mistake attachment for love. We think that to prove we care, we must be involved in every detail, control every outcome, shape every moment. But the Dharma points to another way. Letting go is not because you don't care, but because your caring runs deeper than control. True love is spacious. It gives others the freedom to grow at their own pace. It doesn't bind, doesn't demand, doesn't insist on shaping others into what we think they should become. Behind attachment, there is often a quiet fear hiding. Fear of losing, fear of change, fear of uncertainty. But true caring is fearless. It trusts that what is meant to stay will stay without needing to be gripped tightly. Think of a wise gardener. He doesn't pull at petals to make flowers bloom faster. He waters, he fertilizes, he watches patiently. His care isn't through forcing, but through gentle companionship. Yet the heart resists. It says, if I let go, everything will fall apart. If I don't control, I'll lose what matters most. But has control ever really brought lasting peace, or has it just made your love conditional? When you let go of the need to manage every detail, something new begins to grow. A softer strength, a clearer understanding. You start to see others not as projects to be completed, but as whole beings exactly where they are. Not wishing they were different. Not waiting for them to become more thoughtful, more available, more perfect. Just witness them as they are. Notice how that quiet acceptance shifts your own energy. Notice how it opens your heart. Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. Letting go is not the death of love, but the rebirth of love. A love without fear, a love that doesn't demand, a love that doesn't suffocate, a love that doesn't need constant proof to feel real. When you stop reacting to the noise around you, when you no longer join arguments, when you stop explaining your silence, when you distance yourself from drama, you become a stranger to those who thrive on chaos. True quietness disturbs those who are restless. True peace is not emptiness. It is the most refined form of strength. Those who are restless inside may feel uncomfortable in its presence, because it reflects what they haven't found within themselves yet. A peaceful heart doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to be understood. Its very existence is more convincing than any words. Some people aren't looking for understanding, they're looking for reactions. They try to pull you into their storm to confirm. They still have influence over your emotions. But when you choose to stay steady, not fighting, not defending, not falling into their patterns, You step out of their script, you leave that story entirely. You choose presence over participation. Ask yourself softly, does my peace only exist when the world is quiet? Or does it stay with me when the room starts to shake? The real test of peace is not how it feels on the meditation cushion, but how it holds you in moments of challenge. Buddha said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. And sometimes that one word doesn't need to be spoken at all. It just exists. Turning inward is not to escape life, but to move through it untouched by what does not serve you. In a culture obsessed with showing progress, it is easy to believe that healing only counts when others can see it, measure it, like it. But the deepest healing, the kind that reshapes the soul, often happens where no one can see. It unfolds in silence, in private moments, in the way your breath becomes softer when you wake, in the way you choose patience where you once would have chosen reaction. Bamboo spends years pushing its roots deep into the earth before a single green shoot breaks the surface. When it finally rises, it carries a strength that surprises everyone. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to explain your absence, your new boundaries, or the peace you've found. When you heal quietly, the transformation is undeniable, not because you spoke it to the world, but because you lived it. Your energy shifted, your choices refined, your very presence began to tell a story your old self could never speak. The awakened do not rush to prove themselves. They treat the inner work as a sacred garden, tended in silence, watered with presence, protected from noise. Treat this today, honor a private victory. Maybe you caught yourself before reacting. Maybe you said something gentle to yourself. Maybe you let go of something that once weighed you down. Whatever it is, keep it to yourself. Let you know it happened. That alone is enough. This is how real confidence grows. Not from applause, but from the wholeness of your own awareness. Ask yourself softly, am I healing for my own soul or for others' eyes? Am I growing for authenticity or to be appreciated? There is nothing wrong with being seen, but the most lasting change is born in silence. Buddha said, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise are not moved by praise or blame. True growth doesn't need validation to exist. It won't waver if no one notices it. It continues quietly, steadily, deeply. Let the world think you haven't changed. Let them talk about the you that no longer exists. It doesn't matter, because transformation isn't loud. It is cellular, it is sacred. When it is ready, it will manifest in ways no one can ignore. Until then, keep your roots strong. Heal in silence. When your moment comes, rise like bamboo. Suddenly, powerfully, needing no explanation. Most of our unease comes from grasping, reaching out for love, success, approval, a sense of existence, as if they are the missing pieces in the puzzle of our worth. But at the quiet core of Buddhist teachings lies a different truth. Don't chase, become. A ripe fruit doesn't call out to bees, doesn't beg to be seen. It simply ripens in its own time, becoming what it is destined to become, and then the bees come. The tree doesn't rush to bloom. The mountain doesn't move toward the clouds. It stands there in its completeness, and the clouds gather on their own. This is nature's patience, the quiet certainty that you are already enough. When you shift from chasing to becoming, your energy transforms. You let go of that restless urge to grasp and start living as what you've been searching for. The question changes from, how can I get this, to what kind of person should I become? So whether it is peace, love, clarity, or purpose, your work isn't to chase it, but to grow into it. Chasing often comes from a belief that you are incomplete, that you must earn what already belongs to you. But growth teaches us something deeper. The more rooted you become, the more life comes to you. Not this, pause for a moment and ask yourself what you are really chasing beneath the surface. Is it security, belonging, approval, or love? Then ask, what kind of person can receive these with ease? Tend to that version of yourself, nurture it every day, and trust that what belongs to you will never miss you. When you hold peace within, peace moves toward you. When you walk in love, love meets you. When you carry yourself with a sense of worth, the right opportunities gather. No need to beg, no need to prove. Buddha said, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you bring into life. This is not magic. This is presence. This is the stable, quiet power possessed by one who has stopped running and started rising. So turn inward, not to escape the world, but to shape the essence you can offer it. Let go of attachment to outcomes. Become the kind of soul that no longer needs to chase. Your life will begin to shift gently, effortlessly, without noise, without permission. Like a mountain simply rising, letting the clouds gather on their own. Having come this far, I want to share some heartfelt words with you. I went from an executive chasing power in boardrooms to a practitioner willing to sit quietly at dawn. This path wasn't easy, but it is the most right choice I've ever made in my life. If today's sharing can plant a seed in your heart, that is enough. You don't need to change anything right away. You just need to remember the path of looking inward is always open for you. Finally, I want to ask you a question. If starting from today, you no longer needed to prove yourself to anyone, how would you live?